Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. If you're just joining us, it's better late than never. If you have been with us from the beginning, let's keep this ride going. This is Good Morning Kenya. We want to get started with the family segment. This is a family check, and today we'll be putting a focus on dealing with stress, and not just any kind of stress, but family-related stress. Family stress as a whole. How do you deal with it? What are even some of the family stresses that are there that you may not be aware of, but they are actually the ones that are, pulling you down? That is a discussion we are about to have here. But remember, you can interact with us through our social media platform. The hashtag ever remains hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, our official station handle at KBC Television, my personal handle at Jane Wamboy. So if you have any questions or any comments or clarifications that you may be needing from this discussion, please feel free to interact with us and let us know how the roads are looking on your end. We will be checking in with Doreen Range at the top of the hour to see where she will be and how the situation will be looking on her end. You can also let us know how things are looking on your end. Send us a tweet pic. We'll be absolutely grateful to share it with the rest of the public. So let me just introduce you to the panelists that we have with us in studio this morning. I'll start with the lady to my immediate left. She is Rebecca Wamwene. She is a counseling psychologist dealing with marriage and family-related issues. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
And of course, at my far left, we have Fred Abok. He is a mentor, a life coach, and our resident analyst. Karibu sana Abok.
Asante.
Good to have you back.
Good to have you.
Kama ulipotea kidogo, tutapigana baadaye.
You as well.
All right. So remember, the hashtag you can use that still remains hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. So we want to look at this family-related stress, which so many people face, but some might not even be aware it is what they are facing. Let me start with you, Rebecca. What would you quantify or rather define as family stress in your own, professional point of view?
Thank you for this opportunity that I've gotten to address this issue of stress that is really a bone of contention in our nation. But I want to first of all define stress away from the family.
All right.
And I will pick the medical definition by one called William. He defines stress as anything that is either physical, mental, or emotional factor that causes either bodily or mental pressure. Either physical, mental, emotional, and it's a factor that causes bodily or mental pressure. So now when we combine the family and the stress, and we already have issues that are causing mental and bodily pressure, then this is what we quantify as stress. And stress is not, we cannot define stress, we cannot take a blanket definition of stress, because sometimes it could just be some daily hassles that you went through and you felt tired and you feel you're moody. You cannot really call that stress, although it could be stress because it could be just some minor stress. So it is good that we also ask ourselves, what is this that we would quantify as family stress? It is something that has been persistent. It is causing chaos in the family. It is causing fights. It is something that does not even allow you to have communication within yourselves. You cannot be able to focus on the children or bring them up. No one is able to talk to each other. Instead you fight over very simple things and very simple issues. That is what we can quantify as family stress. As in, it is affecting everybody in the family. Right. Family is a system. It is something that we can call a unit. We are supposed to function as one. If you're no longer functioning, that is family stress.
So it needs to have, this issue needs to have been there for an extended amount of time. And number two, it has to have disrupted the regular operating of the family.
Exactly.
All right.
Yes.
Abel, do you agree with her definition of, what we quantify as family stress?
Yeah, more or less, because, family stress, definitely from what Rebecca has actually brought out. But of course, it's just the pressures that come as a result of relational dynamics that are in the family. Because, family is a component that unifies, but also agrees on together for a particular purpose. And the more you agree on together, the more you rub on one another, both in the right way and in the wrong way. Because it is not, a family is not a place you choose to be, but you find yourself in.
Yeah.
You may actually be with people who appreciate you, understand you, but also there are dynamics of you are not, they appreciate you, but they don't understand you. And you know, as part of an individual egoistic structure is that you want to be appreciated, understood, and accepted. So these components are actually what makes you. And when they are actually not very well adhered to, you discover that there are commotions and there are frictions, and this causes stress. Yes.
Now, when you look at a family setup, it is mostly the parents or the guardians who are the ones who, you know, go through the most stress. And according to a research that was done by APA, they said at least 2/3 of parents think that, you know, their stress has no impact on their children. How true is that?
That was something that we would say that here we have a gap, because when they say that the majority of the people who go through stress are the parents, then we miss out on the children who really go through it and they never talk about it. Sometimes they feel if I talk about it, I will not be listened to. They will not take it so seriously. Sometimes they may even neglect some of the duties they were supposed to do for me if I keep telling them. So our children are really most hit, but they never talk about it. We never see it. We think we are the most people who are hit by stress, but on the other side, the children are the ones who suffer most. So I might accept, or it is something that can be debated on.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
But from where you stand, do you think, you know, according to this researchers, you know, most parents think, at least 2/3 of this of the population that the research was done on, they think that, you know, their stress, it doesn't have any impact on their children whatsoever?
Yeah, sometimes parents can camouflage themselves the fact that they can go through something that children do not necessarily capture. Like when there are emotional discontent or misunderstanding between parents, they try to hide it on that the children are not able to you know, capture on. But the fact is very clear that children do not capture what we say, but how we say it. And this definitely has a lot of psychological effect on children. And, you know, parents today want to live on misreality kind of perception, in that they can go through something or they can react on something and deny the children opportunity to get it. But children will discover that today mommy is so sad, very silent, or they are not talking with daddy, and maybe there is something. And you know, when children try to crack a joke on a dinner table, or when you guys are watching on TV and you know you try to behave like your phone is more important than your family, then they begin to grasp on that, hey, could there be something that is not really right?
Yeah.
Or maybe the tone that you're telling them to go to sleep is not necessarily the usual tone that you always speak with. They'll grasp it. And also it's important to understand that when parents are stressed, they try to vent it on the children. And so children become recipients of their strengths. And this has a lot of psychological and emotional effects on children. When parents are happy, they tend to please children. They tend to do shopping for children. And at the end of it, makes children feel that, oh, there's a sense of belonging and acceptance in the family. So it's far-fetched for parents to take the concept that what they're going through does not really affect the children.
But there is some truth to it, depending on how you relate with the children in this situation.
Definitely, there are some times that, you know, when it is it's psychologically and you know emotionally fit, that the parents are actually able to disagree on a particular thing, and they are able to contain it so that it does not overflow to the children. But this requires a lot of maturity. It requires a lot of self-contention. That the parents will actually try to vent their stress in other avenue that does not necessarily affect children. Yes.
And children are very perceptive. They pick up the minute details that you might think that there you are covering, but they're actually picking up on this, and they ask you very random questions, and that's when you realize that what you do, your child is watching. Now let's look at some of the factors that, you know, contribute to stress within the family setup, and let's start with, you know, you deal with addiction as well. Let's start with addiction in itself, be it drugs, gambling, pornography, among many other addictions that are out there. How does this contribute to, as you know, as one of the biggest stressors in the family setup?
Yeah, Addiction actually is one of the biggest cause of stress in the family, because when a person becomes addicted, like my colleague is saying here, they turn their attention, every of their attention, to what they are addicted to. So like the child will want to play with you, the child will want to talk to you, they have an issue they want to address. Sometimes they don't even have any issue, they just want your attention. But here you are, there's something that has really addicted you. Maybe it is even the phone.
Yes.
You're on your phone, you're talking, you're chatting with groups, you're chatting with individuals, you have no time for the kid. That addiction really affects the family. And how does it do that? Because it brings a disintegration. You become so separated. Here is a husband and a wife. They get into the house. Immediately you're in the house, it's when you want to look through who spoke to you, who texted you, what did they say in Facebook, in Instagram, and every other group you're in. If you're not on the phone, maybe you are addicted to alcohol. You're drinking up to the wee hours. And you come into the house, maybe you are already upset, you were so tired, you had some other pressure and stress from work, so you bring all of them into the house. The wife serves you, or whoever stays with you serves you, and you look at the food, you feel like, what is this that has been put here? You hit it all over. The children run away from you. So addictions are really a problem in our families, and they really affect not only alcohol, we have also other drugs that are really addictive, like bangi and others. And you find that many of those people who are addicted to such drugs, sometimes, you know, they will even become suicidal, and even they will feel like they want to kill people and even destroy them. Other things that will even cause stress in the family is addictions to gambling. You know, you are so much into sio ndoto ni loto, you know, rusha mbao sijui fanya nini. You are so much into it. Some people will even come with a newspaper that is cut out and bring it into the house, a heap of them, trying to play each other day. And many times when they lose, they feel like you're the person who has caused them to lose. And they will even bet some of the assets that you people have. And so fights ensue. And like you were saying there before about the children, parents will think the children are not getting affected. The only way they will not get affected is when the stress is short-lived, really short-lived. That is when you will be able to communicate with your spouse and be able to solve it. But if it is not communicated immediately and it becomes prolonged, it becomes destructive to the children. They pull away, they start isolating themselves, they withdraw, they also get into other types of addictions. And so the family becomes a hell on earth. And if it is not well looked into and solved, and sometimes there will be needed an intervention from a third party.
Yes.
You may not be able to solve it, the two of you.
Yeah.
These addictions, they may not be solved by the two of you. You may need an intervention.
And ultimately, I think it's also in addiction, it does actually affect the children, because, you know, when you're not giving the children the attention that they need, they will look for it elsewhere, and it might not be a very constructive way.
Exactly.
Now, Abok, let me come to you. You deal with a lot of young people, you deal with married couples. Now, how does addiction affect even, be it, maybe it's one of the spouses that is addicted, or a family member, drugs, pornography, gambling, technology, just as she's saying. How do you feel this now contributes towards a family stressing factor?
Yeah, addiction contributes a lot to the family stressing factor, in that you find that people who are addicted are trying to deal with the fear of the unknown. And so they bring themselves to addiction on devoid of the things that they fear most. And why do they fear? They fear them because they are not ready to communicate them. They are not ready to let them go. The effect of them are paramount to some of the challenges that they hope that they should actually not find themselves in. And so when addiction erupts in a family, it disintegrates the peaceful coexistence of the family in such a way that people tend to withdraw rather than confront. You know, what you cannot address, you cannot arrest. And so there are factors, the fundamental factors that erupt as a result of people, resolving into something in avoidance of a particular thing.
Something else.
All right?
Yeah.
So the more they avoid on that particular thing, the more the thing cropped up. And you know, when parents are addicted to something, what children try to, either live with it or find solution, or either the same addiction or get themselves haywire trying to discover a solution elsewhere. And this may end up people getting into, out there in sexual harassment and desires of things that does not really build up the family component.
Become more destructive.
More destructive.
Yeah.
Now, addiction is very dangerous, because what happens is that wherever an issue comes up and needs a clear, straightforward solution, someone will get addicted to either the alcohol. They can only speak when they're drunk. They can only speak when they win a bet. They can only be happy when they have their phone. But getting on to understand that life is essential, and failure is paramount. Failure is as good as success, because some people have succeeded as a result of what they failed. Yeah. But accepting failure is a great challenge.
Becomes the challenge.
It becomes a challenge. Yeah. But you discover that you are not worse off when you fail, because even people who are successful, they are not really the champions. Mm-hmm. So getting on to accept the failure, and people who get addicted have this mentality that, it is not my portion. But hey, you need to fail for you to succeed, because everyone who is successful must have failed somewhere else. Yeah. So people need to have an attitude of embracing the dynamics of life, and accepting the failure is also part of it. Yeah. And get plugged into the fact that, yes, this is a process of life, and it's not the ultimate of it.
All right. Yeah. Now, you have just actually mentioned, in terms of speaking solution, I'm coming to you, have mentioned, it begins with accepting. Yes. Regardless of what the situation may be that you're trying to avoid that led you to the addiction that you are in. It begins with accepting the situation. Yeah. Now, in terms of offering solution, let me hear from you, Rebecca. How can we offer solutions when it comes to dealing with addiction in the family setup?
Yeah, before we get to offering solutions, I wanted to add on what he's saying and talk about an addiction that is not usually talked about so much, the religious addiction. People getting addicted to religion. By the way, I'm an evangelist, and I advocate seeking wisdom and guidance from God. But then there is a way you can do it and look like you're losing it. Because when you're supposed to wake up in the morning and go to work, then you're just sleeping there and you're saying the Holy Spirit will intervene, yes. God will provide. How will he do it? And according to the African religion tradition, we say, Betty has said that Africans are notoriously religious. Sometimes you may realize that they want to attribute everything to religion, even what you're supposed to do yourself. If you're supposed to stop the gambling, you don't stop, and you're expecting God to come there and stop you. He has given you all the people to speak to you and to tell you this is wrong, and you're still hanging on there. Now, when we come to the solution, yes. It is what we are saying, do what you're supposed to do. If you're supposed to seek help, and this, first of all, you must understand what are the triggers to my stress. What has triggered this stress? Is it the addictions? Is it the conflicts in the house? Is it biological? Is it some sickness that I have? What has triggered this? Then you must also get a lot of self-awareness. Know when the stress is setting in. How is it that I feel when stress is taking toll on me? What are the bodily signals that come my way? Then you ask yourself, who is my support system? Because one of the greatest solutions that we must have is a support system. Whom can I speak to? Don't bottle it up. Don't keep to yourself. Go and speak to someone. Find a person who can support you. Then get what I usually call a bin or a dustbin. If you enter into any house, even in the palace, you find a dustbin somewhere where we throw all manner of garbage and dust. You must have that kind of a bin where I'm able to get my miseries, I throw. My sorrows, I throw. My pains, I throw. Those things that I'm feeling like, I love what he's saying, that you must have failed so that you can succeed. So when you're feeling like this failure has really weighed me down, where do I throw this weighing down so that I can look at the failure in a positive way, in a way to let me rise? So get a dustbin where you throw everything that is a pressure to your mental and your bodily way of functioning. Yes.
Get a mental bin that will help you, you know, empty that and recycle that bin. When it gets full, empty.
Yes, some of us, our beans become our partners. And then, you know, we throw them. You know, Kenyans are used to throw beans out of the windows of the car driving. And sometimes we vent out our stress on our children and our partners. And so it's critical to understand that your bean needs to be a bean, not really an individual that you're going to embed on more stress on. And that will be able to help our family.
It needs to start here before it gets to anywhere else.
Yes, yes.
All right, now let's quickly look at work and finances, which is another big stressor in the family setup. You know, when it comes to a phase where one of the partners is unemployed, finances become an issue, you find there's always something to pick over. There's always arguments that pop up out of nowhere because maybe one partner is feeling, you know, I'm taking so much, yet you are not doing anything to help with the financial responsibilities of the family. Let me hear from you, Abok. What dangers does, you know, work and finances have when it comes to stress levels in the family setup?
Now, the challenge, I don't see it as a work issue or financial, because before you get a job or before either you earn well, you are who you are, all right? And your job and your finances does not necessarily define you. Who define you is to get to understand who you are, but also whose you are. Now, these are very critical elements in life. Who you are is defined by what you allow to deposit inside of you, what comes in. You know, they say garbage in, garbage out. You know, and as a man thinketh, so is he. Now, who you are is based on how you are contented within yourself and the ability to approach issues and circumstances as they come. That you are very contented, you are sure of who you are, that money is not going to define you, but also your financial status are not going to define you. But when you allow these two things to define you, then which means you are not sure of who you are. Now, on whose you are is what do you allow to come in, and where do you draw your support system? Where do you draw your values and the elements that causes you to stun? Is there something that is embedded in you that only comes out when something is on your hand? Now, when you find families who are disgruntled based on financial position or job circumstances, you discover that this thing did not just started on finances, but these people are actually not confident of themselves. Because if you marry a woman who you feel is more learned than you, that you know, you are just lucky to marry them. Now you begin to be for what lack of a better term, begin to be scared of this woman that maybe she can leave you anytime. You are not confident of yourself. You are not confident of your partner. What you need to emphasize on is love. Because people love as a result of mutual understanding and mutual behavior. You don't love people of money. If you love them of money, which means that when money gets out, you also gone. When someone get a job and begin on to earn, there need to be a communication system. There need to be acceptability, and there need to be responsibility. It does not matter how much you are. If your wife is earning and you're not earning, a husband has a responsibility to be the head of the house. That is paramount, even if the woman is the president. So you need to get something in your hand to be able to do, even if you're going to chimba mtaro out there. But at the end of the day, bring something in, and as your wife supports you. But you do not sit on the blanket, and you don't cover yourself on the blanket until 11 o'clock, and then wake up. Someone will get frustrated by the efforts you're not making. Something needs to be, when you are making an effort, you are pulling together. You have an attitude of appreciating yourself, but also appreciating the effort that both parties are bringing in. But these ones can only be done when people are confident they know their position. People need to understand their position. When you understand your position and authenticate it, then someone be able to respond to that position and respect it.
Okay, so from what I'm getting, you know, as long as you're making effort and you are living up to your responsibility in your role in that family setup, you know, work and finances shouldn't really be a problem.
Yes.
All right. Do you agree with what he's saying?
I totally agree with him. And mostly this affects especially men who have got women who are earning higher than they are earning. Sometimes their self-esteem goes down. And maybe even some women will begin talking to the men and putting them down and showing them how useless they are, and even telling themselves, I'm so unfortunate, I don't know why I chose you, and stuff like that. That brings the self-esteem of a man so low. It makes him feel useless and helpless. And many other times you will find that they will even, the adrenaline in them will cause them to harm even those people who are talking to them in
act out of anger.
Manner. So I accept that we need a communication system whereby we are going to talk to one another and ask ourselves, now that we are here, this is my situation, this is what I can do. Let that person who is feeling that they are low financially, or maybe they don't have a job, let you discuss and ask yourself, how can we help one another?
Yes.
How can I help you out of this pit? How can I make you move forward, you know? And if it is the spouse, let you be contented with what is given to you. Because again, there are some people who are never contented. They will always feel, when I come and look at you, you're so smart, I really want that dress, and I will go and make a fuss out of everything in that house until I get that dress. Be contented. Do not be over ambitious. Let your ambitions be balanced so that you can be able to move on together. You can be able to work on the finances that you have. Little in your hands, and believing in God and communicating with one another, I can tell you it can take you miles.
So communication should be one of the solutions when you find one of your partner maybe is unemployed for a certain period of time.
Yes.
Communicate and agree on a way forward.
Communication is key, and like I said earlier, sometimes you may need a third party.
All right.
Because maybe every time you try talking, you end up fighting.
Okay.
You may need a third party.
All right. Abok, you'd like to chip into that before?
Yes, I want to chip in on two things. Number one is there is no better family than your family. And it doesn't matter what you admire on the road, the kind of a vehicle, the kind of a house, and the kind of a furniture you admire out there. The fact is that even if you are eating on the floor, there's no better family than your family. What you need to bring out is, how can I be able to bring joy in this family? By number one, appreciating yourself. People who have this contention of their partners have this contention within themselves. All right. If you cannot be able to appreciate yourself, there is no way you can be able to love someone else. All right. So you can only love someone on the basis of how you love yourself. And so when you appreciate yourself, you get to understand what's my position. Now, I've always said on this program that the position of a man is three things, very fundamental, and that's of the woman. A man is the king, he's the head, he's the prince. All right? No one is arguing about that. So you don't need to stand on the TV and say, I demand respect for this. No, you don't demand respect. As a king, as a head of the house, and as a prince, you demand respect. The woman is the queen. She's the lover. She's the mother of the house. That is her position. Are we getting one another? Now, when someone gets to understand our position and address them onto that position, regardless whether they are working or they are not working, you will discover that respect flows automatically. All right? And when respect flows automatically, support is something that, you know what, will come out where there is respect. But when we miss our position, we try to behave who we are not, chances are high that people will mistake who you are. And when people mistake who you are, they will address you wrongly. Now, in a family context, let us get to understand our position. Understand our position and authenticate our position. You better spend time authenticating your position than affirming to other people what your position is.
Okay.
Don't you know that I'm the husband? Don't you know I'm the father of this house? Don't you know? No. Who wants to know? They want to know as you are acting it. And when you are acting it, they will submit to it. Even the Bible says, the responsibility of love is for a man. The responsibility of submission is for a woman. A woman does not submit to a loveless man. A woman submits to love. A woman does not submit to a muscle husband. They submit to a loving husband. Yeah. And you know, women do not, men do not respect, you know, a sheep. They respect to a loving wife. So when you love, even if you're shapeless, you will be loved.
So it depends with how you treat each other.
Yes.
Regardless of whether, you know, challenges come along the way, roles and titles and responsibilities will not be overlooked depending on the situation.
Yes.
But that needs to have been, that relationship needs to have been created before then. It needs to have been solidified. Yeah. Yeah?
Very true.
All right. Now let's go to another issue, and that is children. as a source of stress for the family setup. When it comes to children, children will always be children.
Yes.
But for the parents, they look at, you know, especially those who have gotten a new baby, it's a new phase, there's so many challenges adapting to the new life. And of course, if you have older children who are in school, their performance here and there, among, you know, providing for them and many other issues when it comes to dealing with children. Now, we are going to quickly look at, you know, how that contributes to a major stress factor in the family setup, especially for the parents. But before we get to do that, I understand our traffic marshal A1, Dorina Range, is on standby on, maybe you can let us know where you are this morning and how things are looking on your end. Over to you, Dee.
Right, thank you, Jane. And again, a beautiful discussion we've been having in studios there. But right about now, we still are at the Professor Wangari Maathai Road, checking out for our viewers what is happening on this particular road in terms of traffic. And basically, the routes we'll be focusing on is the lane that is leaving Westlands, using the Professor Wangari Maathai Road, heading to Thika Road, as well as the lane that is leaving Thika Road, still using this particular road, heading to the CBD. And what you're seeing right now on that lane that is leaving Thika Road, using the Professor Wangari Maathai Road heading to the CBD, is heavy building up of traffic. And I believe that that traffic has begun all the way from Allsops roundabout, coming all the way to Muthaiga, to Pangani, all the way to Ngara, to the CBD. So for those living their home areas using this particular route, they really just have to make do with the traffic. However, there's some alternative routes that I'll be giving just later on, especially for those that are using this particular route. But also, I believe on the Muthaiga roundabout, I believe the traffic police are there just trying to control the traffic, because in as much as there's heavy building up of traffic, also just showing that it's really moving at a slow pace as well. And some of the alternative routes, especially for those that are coming from Thika Road, and they're just at the Allsops roundabout, that serves as one of the alternative routes, because you can connect to the Allsops area all the way to Outer Ring Road, connecting all the way to Juja Road and coming to the CBD. So that can serve as one of the alternative routes, instead of coming with the traffic all the way to Muthaiga. So using that roundabout, going to Outer Ring Road, connecting to Juja Road, then coming to the CBD can be one of the alternative routes for those that are living the estates of Zimmerman, Githurai, Sportsview, Kasarani, Muiki, and they're coming to the CBD just before you get to Muthaiga. You can use that as one of your alternative routes. For those that are past the Muthaiga roundabout, where I am right now, the intersection, this also is one of the alternative routes, where there is called the Pangani intersection. You come in straight, you join to the intersection, or you joining to the Dr. Griffin's Road, to Juja Road, again to the CBD. So for those that have already left Thika Road and are still, you know, in the traffic, and they have left them, they are at the Muthaiga roundabout, that is one of the alternative routes you can use, the one at the Pangani intersection, joining to Dr. Griffin's Road, heading all the way to the CBD. But for those that have passed the Pangani intersection, I really can say you just have to make do with the traffic. And this traffic is going all the way to Ngara area, heavy building up of traffic. And also, just if you may note on where we are seeing right now, this is at the footbridge down Pangani footbridge where we are right now. And remember that this footbridge was also just constructed for pedestrians to have an easy movement, being that this is a highway moving from one area to another, and the floods on this footbridge is making it difficult for some of these people to move from one way to the other. They just have to now use the pavements on the other side. And also what you're able to witness is, you know, the pregnant ladies, the mothers with children, really becoming difficult for them to move from one side to the other. You can see the way that man is really trying to just, you know, try to navigate through the waters, the floods on this particular footbridge. I think the county government can do something, because then it becomes difficult for pedestrians to move, especially in this, you know, rush hour, morning hour, whereby there's normally quite a number of vehicles on the road, so they just have to use the footbridge. Then again, the footbridge that they have to use is not really, you know, good, conducive for them to use because of the flood. So it becomes very difficult for some of these pedestrians to move through. But still staying on the roads as far as traffic is concerned, just building up of traffic. On the other lane, this is not the lane that is leaving the CBD. Also the lane that is leaving Westlands heading to Thika Road, that particular lane is just smooth moving of vehicles, obviously, because the lane whereby we expect traffic is the one that is heading to the CBD, because people are heading to their workstations, heading to their businesses, and that is just basically what we see. And like I had told you earlier, how it's becoming difficult for pregnant women and you know, men or ladies with children to try and move from one side to the other. The way you're seeing, very hard for that young man to just carry his child child and move, you know, using this particular footbridge because of the flooding on that, you know, on this particular footbridge. Again, the footbridge constructed for ease of movement, but then it's becoming difficult for these pedestrians because how do you move from one side to the other side with the floods, with your child, or if you're pregnant, and this is supposed to serve as a good pathway for you to move, but then the floods make it difficult for most of these pedestrians because some of them even end up falling and they, you know, they're heading to their workstation. So how do you again go to your workstation with mud and water all over you? So just becoming very, very difficult for some of these pedestrians to move from one side to the other with this flood. And again, like I said earlier, I believe the county government will do something in regards to that, at least for ease of movement of the pedestrians. And then, so again, let's just, you know, try and see what is happening on our roads in terms of traffic. Now, that is the lane that is leaving Westlands, using the Professor Wangari Maathai Road heading to the CBD. On that particular lane, again, you know, just smooth moving of vehicles, and like the other side where we are seeing heavy building up of traffic on the under tunnel. On the upper side, that is the Forest Road, which, you know, the former Forest Road, now Professor Wangari Maathai Road, also just building up of traffic on that particular road. Again, also just, you know, people that are heading to the CBD also tend to use that particular road as an alternative route because the one that is heading to the CBD using Gara area, on that particular lane, heavy building up of traffic on that particular lane. So really, in terms of traffic, we're just seeing heavy building up of traffic. And also, if you may note, Thika Road was constructed in a bid to ease congestion, in a bid to ease traffic. But then again, we just keep seeing traffic building up in this morning hours. And like I said earlier, on that lane that is just next to Muthaiga there, you know, that's how it was when he got here. That was an hour ago. Right about now, it is 9:11 a.m. and the situation is still the same. Heavy building up of traffic, and traffic tends to cost the country a lot of money because, you know, of the lost productivity that is lost among people when they're just stuck in traffic. But then again, building up of traffic. But I believe at around 11 a.m. the traffic would have eased up. So for those that are leaving Thika Road, leaving their homes using this particular road, this is how the situation is. You just have to make do with this traffic. But for those that will be leaving from around 11 a.m., 11:30, then it will be smooth sailing for them. But as far as traffic is concerned, it's just heavy building up of traffic along Thika Road area.
All right, thank you, Doreen. Around Thika Road, we will be checking in with her before we wind up the show at 10 a.m. to see if the situations will still be looking as they are right now, or there will be a change here and there. Remember, you can interact with us using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Tag me as well at JaneWaboy is my handle, and our official station handle at KBC Television. Now, back to the discussion here in studio, looking at stressful factors in the family. How does the family stress manifest itself, and how can we go about handling it? And right now we want to go to now children, you know, and you were just having a discussion when Doreen was on air talking about, you know, how these days we are living in a time where you're not living for yourself, you're living for your children. So whether you are satisfied or you're not, you are just living such a compromised life on the account of your children. And according to also this research, they say that, you know, 73% of this population of parents, they say that, you know, the biggest stress comes from, you know, dealing with the children. Let me hear from you, Rebecca.
73% says that much of the stress from the parents is from the children.
Yes.
Now, this depends with the attitude and the way you look at the children. Are these children a blessing to you, or are they a bother to you? And the other thing that you need to ask yourself, was I prepared? Did I want a kid? Is it an accident? Because some people call the kid an accident.
Oops,
I don't know what I don't know what they mean by an accident baby. So you are asking yourself, was I prepared for the baby? And remember, you're getting angry because of the children or the kids that you have, you're struggling with, you want to feed them, you want to do this and that to them. Others are spending millions and millions of cash to get pregnant and get a kid. So what you're calling a bother is a prayer item for another person. They struggle night in, night out, praying for a child, and you think this child is a bother. Now, this is what I usually call otherness. You're living for others. If you got that kid so that you can please your husband, if you got that child because the mother-in-law insisted, kwani mtaniza lini? If you got that child because culture requires when I am 30 plus, I should be having a child to advance the generation, then I will always feel this child is a bother. But if I had set my goals that at this time I would want to have my child, bring them up, it's about me. I got that child, so I'm mentally set that I will be able to balance. I know it is an added work on top of what I have been doing usually, but then I know I will, go around it and know how I will be able to balance what I do and be the mother.
Yes.
There is what my colleague has said here, that a woman is a lover, is a mother. That is what I want to capture, the mother part of it. If you are a mother, you really need to know how to balance. If you are a single mother, then it means there is no husband that you're taking care of, then you are not a wife of anybody. You are that single mother who is doing everything. You're bringing up that child alone. Peke yako.
Yeah.
You've got no support system like a husband or staff. It's you alone. When you have a husband, you are a mother, you are a wife, you are a woman. You need to balance all those things. Here I am a wife. I have to make sure that I submit to this man so that he can love me. I also have to take care. I am a mother to this child, and I'm not going to compromise any duties of any of the two. I will have to satisfy the husband, and I will have to satisfy the kid. Then I'm a working mother. Currently, we are working.
Career
Personally,
women.
I'm a career mother, and I have brought up 2 teenage boys, and I can tell you, if I wanted them to be stressed, they could be the biggest stress I have today.
Yeah.
But then I looked at them as a blessing, and I told myself, you must balance.
You must
Here is
balance.
work, he's a husband, these are sons, you have to balance.
You have
There's
to
no
know
choice.
how to handle
Yes.
each one
Yes.
the correct way.
Yes, so
Because
I
when you mix
looked
it up,
at them all positively. Having a husband is a positive thing. Having the children is a positive thing. Having some work to do is positive. I'm an author, I was writing books, it's positive. It depends on how you look at things. Anything can be a burden and anything can be a blessing, the way you look at it.
It depends with your perspective.
Yes.
Now, Abok, out of this 73%, 52 say that is the teenage age that are the most stressful. Aonde wanasumbua kabisa. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are pretty clear, being that I spent a lot of time with teenagers.
Yeah.
Teenagers, we just need to accept them, appreciate them, and accommodate them. Because number one, teenage is a stage that people are self-discovering. And the process of self-discovering requires that they are actually doing something for notice, something for recognition, and something for relevance. And on this aspect, you will discover that teenage try to prove that, yes, there is something in me that you didn't know. And it depends on how we receive them. The way we receive them will depend on how they react to us. And most parents who do not raise their children in a manner that is governed by principles, values, and systems do end up in a discontention period when they're teenage. Swahili say mtoto aleavyo ndivyo akuavyo.
Yeah.
Now, in teenage is when now the child gives you back what you deposited. All right? Now, what did you deposit when they were young? Did you deposit a love affair, a relationship affair, accommodative affair? If you are not accommodative, they will not accommodate you. They will lock themselves in the room, and you will begin to wonder, what is my son, my daughter locking themselves in the room? It's just that when they needed you most, you are also locked in somewhere. So as much as I want to accept that the teenage is a stressful moment, but parents have the most precious moment to invest in their children and when they are young. But even if you did not, make sure that you're friends to your teenager. Because the best way to enter the circle of a teenage is to love them. Love them regardless of their behavior. Love will change attitudes, love will change emotions, and love will change character. Just get to love them. But we don't change our teenagers by bringing laws and regulations. We change our teenagers by exemplify life system that you want them to be. How do we exemplify it? People outgrow things. I always tell parents, don't stress your son to shave their hair the way you want them to shave, or to dress the way they want to dress. You continue dressing on well. Have positive discussion about dressing well. Have positive discussions about shaving your hair well. That will be able to change them rather than pressurizing them on how to behave. Why? Because I said on this show that what you did not discuss with your teenagers, someone will discuss with them. What you did not expose them to, someone will expose them to them. What you did not underline a value system, someone will give them out. So, like issues of sex, issues of relationship, issues of excellence, if you are not contented with money, your children will not be contented about. If they saw you running up and down looking for money, they said the only way to get money is to run up and down. If you are not satisfied with the component of your life, trying on to be worried all the time, they will not. This is the way to do one thing. So teenagers are not stress. Teenagers are opportunity for self-discovery. There are things that your teenagers can teach you to be able to even handle yourself, because they're bringing on a reflection of who you are into their life.
Okay. And how do you draw that balance between, being a friend to your teenage son or daughter while still being a parent to them? Because I think that is where most parents find a bit of a struggle. You become too much of a friend and, you lose that parental authority over your child. Or you become too much of a parent, you lose that friendship relationship with your child. That they're not free with you, they cannot talk to you, with you about anything. How do you draw that balance? Let me start with you.
Two things. Yeah. Balancing. There is need of a proper balancing. Create a proper atmosphere of correction, and speak truth in love, because truth hurts. So create an atmosphere that truth can be spoken and their dignity and egos are not jeopardized. This will actually create safety within the youth, the young people. But also, two, find mechanism of conflict resolution.
Okay.
All right. When you find, because where teens disagree is mechanism of conflict resolution. All right. He has come at 9 o'clock. You expect him to come back at 6. How do you sort it out? Definitely, if you bump on him or her with abuses of languages that are inappropriate, she will definitely respond onto you. Why can't you allow it? Why can't you sleep over it and put it in a way? Why can't you bring it in a story? Why can't you bring it in a conversation after dinner? Why can't you bring it in an environment that she is not tensed or feel like she is her prejudices are actually violated, but she is within a context that she appreciates, because every correction needs to be appreciated. All right? We do not need to threaten. After all, who are you threatening? This person feels that they cannot be able to make it in life by themselves. But the fact is that they cannot be able, and they are valuable depending on the way you actually bring what the correction. So create an environment of grace whenever you're doing something.
And that just takes me back to how you were brought up. That is how we were brought up. So we need to change how we bring up the next generation of children. True. More talking than beating and yes, turning to violence as the first option. Rebecca, your thoughts in regards to how we can be friends with our children so that ultimately they don't become stress factors, but people who are actually contributing to the growth of the family.
The most important thing I would say is that you begin right from day one.
Yes.
You don't just bump into me. When I am a grown-up, I'm an adult. All along, you've not been there. You've been so busy with the other things.
Yes.
You've been an absentee parent. Then you're coming to tell me this is the way to behave and walk, and you're so rough on me. You're telling me in a very bad attitude, you're beating me up and you're telling me this is the way I should do things, and you've not been there before. So I would say we start as early as day one. Even if maybe you are that kind of a parent who is not able to be with the children always create time to be with them. Maybe you could be a single parent out there and you're listening to us, and maybe your children are being brought up by the grandmother, so that you can be able to provide for them.
Yeah.
And you're not able to see them every other day. Create time to be with them. Always find an opportunity to spend quality time with them and let them know, I am your mother. I'm only away from you because of circumstances. It's not that I have hated you. Otherwise, if you bump on them when they are grown up, they will have already created other perceptions and support systems, and they will have also been instructed by others and followed those instructions. You will not be able to divert them, and that way you can never be friends. Then again also, In creating friendship, you don't dictate things. It is you reason together.
It's a two-way street.
Yes, reason together.
Yeah.
Listen to me, allow me to air my views, allow me to disagree a bit with you, much as you are my parent, and at the end of the day, you may carry the day, but allow me to disagree a bit with you. Allow me to ask a question. Why should this be done this way and not this way, you know? Allow us to, you know, to integrate and to discuss things and to be friends. Yes.
We shouldn't always fall back to, you know, spare the rod, spoil the child. It shouldn't always have to be the situation.
Jen,
Yes.
one fundamental thing plays out. It's called emotional discontent. Emotional discontent is the element of understanding our emotions before we understand people's emotions. Now, things don't just happen. Everything to see. You know, I like the Swahili word that says, ukiona vyaelea, ujue zimeundwa. When I'm having a conversation with my daughter today, I'm beginning and end in mind. I'm preparing someone's wife. I'm preparing someone's mother. And I'm preparing someone's queen. Are we getting another? So what kind of component am I building up? Am I having communication based on a teenager? Am I seeing her right now? Or am I seeing her in the future? Most of the parents look at their children today. They are not looking at their children in the future. And so the component and the aspect of the synergy is lacking. How do I want this person to grow? And how can we be able to grow together? How can I be both corrected, appreciated, affirmed, and also vindified in the things that doesn't matter? So in this, we'll be able to help us to know how to both correct our children, but also appreciate them when they are right. And this is really what I say. If you want to tell me one wrong thing that I've done, could you tell me the two right things that I do? So that this can actually be able to help in the wrong thing.
All right.
We are very loud on the wrong thing, but very silent on the right ones.
Samaki mkunje angali mbichi. The way you bring up your child, that is the way they will grow up to be. So if you are a friend from the beginning, you will be a friend throughout their life. But if you're not a friend at the, you know, the tender age, don't expect them to be your friends when they're much grown and they already formed their own opinions. Help shape those opinions when you still can. Now, let's now move on to, you had mentioned this, and this is religion as a source of stress in the family setup. These days we're living in a time and age where, you know, different religions intermarry, move to different parts of the country, but it still remains a big challenge for most people these days when you're trying to decide if you're from, let me use the example of a Christian and Islam religion. You marry. When it comes to the children, which religion will they follow? That brings us so much stress within the family setup. What would you advise towards this end? And how do even people, how is it a dangerous issue, you know, how we deal with it in the family setup?
Yeah, the issue of religion, especially when it comes to intermarrying, is a dangerous one and a very difficult one, especially when it is intermarriage in different religions, not within the same religion, but in different denominations. Yes. That would be better. But when it comes to different religions, you know, they have different culture, they have their way of doing things. You may not be able to completely be able to follow their way of doing things, and if you're required to completely follow it, some kind of stress may arise from there. And then when it comes to the children, according to our African culture, most of the times we follow the side of the king, the father. You know, even when I'm addressing myself, I call myself by the name of my dad. So you find that when it comes to a religion, if the father is the Muslim or the Christian, most likely they will follow the side of the father, not the side of the mother. So again here, I would say it boils down to communication. Talk to each other, especially during courtship. Don't sweep anything under the carpet. Analyze everything, put it on the table. Ask yourself, am I ready for this? If I come to your religion, and in your religion, women never talk. They stay silent and they wait for everything, for the husband to come even to tell them. They talk about nothing. Am I ready for that? If I am married to this kind of a religion, and this is the way they do things, when they are mourning, this is their style of mourning, am I ready for that? Will I be able to mourn in that kind of a style? Because even mourning brings a difference.
Yeah.
You have to mourn in a certain style that shows you're not the cause of the death of that person. Am I ready to move in with that? So the issue of religion is quite contentious. It really needs to be discussed, looked into, and let you get into this marriage having made a decision that I'm ready to live with this for as long as God will give me life. Even if it is 80, 100 years, I'm ready to live with this. Other religions will allow polygamy. To them, it's no problem. Are you ready to get some other 5 women after you? Will you still be comfortable, or will you fight it out? So it can really bring a lot of stress. It can really bring a lot of fights, and the children may find themselves in a mix and lost. Yeah. Now, whom do we follow? Where do we go? Even denominations, leave alone the religions.
Yeah.
Today I'm Presbyterian, tomorrow I'm ACK, the other day I'm evangelical, the children get lost there and ask themselves, now, if my mother has gone to like 5 denominations before we grew up, which one is the right one? And at times you may find that they don't want to be associated with any, they just stay at home. So religion is a real cause of stress. Other stresses from religion is when I want to, maybe I am a leader in a church. I am a mother, I'm a wife. And I want to spend all my time in the church. There's a kesha, I have to go. There's a meeting tomorrow, I have to be there. There's a seminar, I have to be there. I have no time for my family. I have to balance. I need to balance. And like I said, and I know there are people viewing me out there, I'm an evangelist within the Presbyterian Church of East Africa. I'm a mother, I'm a wife. I have to balance. I can't go tell my husband, thou says the Bible. I have to cook for him. I have to wash clothes for him. I have to take care of him. Even my children will not look at me as an evangelist. They need a mother, not an evangelist.
All right.
So you have to balance.
And make an informed decision when
Yes.
you're deciding.
Exactly.
Abok, let me come to you. When it comes to dealing with religion and conforming to the different ways of life that different religions comes with, how do they, bring up stress in one way or the other on a personal level?
I want us to understand that religion is a recipe for discontention, even from the days of the Bible. Religion has been the root cause of a lot of many evil. I'm not talking about salvation, I'm talking about religion.
Yes.
Why? Because religion is a way of life that people live, and belief system that governs their inner being. Now, if religion is not clearly articulated, discussed, and adhered to, chances are high that there's going to be a discontention, and there's going to be contention in the house. That's why I encourage couples before they get married, get to understand what are your belief system, because what you believe in defines who you are.
Yes.
All right. Now, people believe in different things. There are people who also believe in nothing. All right. But it is very dangerous when it comes into a family component that you will go as far as your believing system. If you do not believe anything, you will grow as far as what you don't believe in. All right. Now, get to understand which religion is a partner that you're associating with, and what are the consequences of getting married to such kind of a religion. Because every choice has consequences. The choice you make will determine the kind of a life that you receive. So on this matter, have you clearly discussed how the religion is going to affect your marriage, and find yourself convenient with it? Because there are people who are much pushed into by lust, because I cannot call love confusion. Love has eyes, love has patience, and love has focus.
Love is not blind?
Love is not blind. Love sees things. And in the component of religion, love will see that, we may actually like one another based on shape, based on the size of your wallet, or based on, whatever it. But our religion does not really capture on well. We can still remain friends, but you cannot get married. Rather than getting into marriage and then religion become contention. But the other thing is that the way we bring our children determine. We have a responsibility, and we will be questioned both on earth and in heaven, how we bring up our children. If we confuse them on religion and they end up so discontented and they are haywire outside there, we will be answerable onto that. And so the way we balance on our religion prays a lot. But also with the good book says, your family is the first church. All right? It is very fundamental that whoever becomes a leader in any religion must have been able to take care of their family well first. So I cannot spend time in prayer when my family do not have food. It is my first responsibility to make sure that there is food in the table, in the table before I go to church or before I go to the mosque. So this is very fundamental. Don't tell children to fast because you have not worked. You know, let them fast when the fridge is full, so that they get to understand that the God that they are depending upon is a God who provides.
Yes.
Right? But people have misconstrued the religion, and they have thought that, you know what, with the religion everything is possible. Religion can brood murder. Religion can brood death.
Religious addiction, as you say.
It's addiction. Get to balance things. Get to balance things. You know, sometimes it beats me up when you spend the whole time in church on a Sunday with children. They are crying wayward. You know why? Because you are in church, you're worshiping your God. Your children will hate your God. All right? Get to prepare yourself well. Even if you cannot afford, cook the food the day before and carry it to them in the church. If today is our day to spend in church, but let them eat. You know, let them honor your God. Let them honor your presence, that, you know what, the God that you serve is also a God who cares about us. So religion needs to be balanced, needs to be adhered for, and need to be looked at keenly so that it does not interfere with the peaceful atmosphere of the family.
All right. Remember, we were talking about stress factors in the family. What are some of the stress factors that are there that you may not be aware of but are manifesting in one way or the other? And how do you go about handling them in a way that is constructive and will not bring harm to either you, your partner, or your children, or the people who you live close with? Now, if you want to be part of this discussion, keep talking to us. I will be sampling your views and comments as we proceed on with the discussion. The hashtag still remains hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, at KBC Television, and at Jane Wambui is my handle across all social media platforms. Now, let's quickly move on to another aspect, and that is the extended family, the in-laws, as a source of stress in the family setup. I won't even break it down. Let me hear from you, Rebecca. Let me start with you. When it comes to in-laws and how they can bring stress upon you and your family.
Yeah, I will first of all quote the Bible,
Yes.
what he has called the good book.
The good book.
And say that when God created Eve, this was what he said: we will create a helper meet for him. That word is very critical. Meet for him. What does that mean? You're only acceptable by that man you're created for. Everybody else may feel uncomfortable with you. They may look at you and feel, you don't look good enough for our son, but you are a helper meet for him, not for his mother, not for his brothers, not for his sisters. But this is what we never know. So when we go in there, we get married there, or that man marries there, they want everybody in the family to embrace them like their sons and daughters of that family. It may not happen so easily. It requires a lot of, you know, sometimes they will want you to even prove that you're the right person to be married to our son or our daughter, you know, in terms of provision. Are you the right person? Will you be able to take care of our daughter? Will you be able to nurture her? Do you see the kind of a lady we've given you? We've educated her, and she's, you know, they will say all manner of things, and they will look at the guy and they are like, ish, we don't think this guy will be able to keep our daughter in the right way. You're only meat for that man. Now, stress comes in if you allow yourself to carry a baggage of a whole extended family. If you're married in there, your focus should be the husband. It should be the husband. You have no business fighting with the mother-in-law. Remember, this woman is the mother to that man, and the relationship between the man and the mother will never end. Ni mtoto wake. Just like you will get your children, you don't expect that one day a woman will get married in there and separate you with your son or your daughter. It will not happen. So when the son visits the mother or sends something to the mother, don't become so mad. He's doing it because that is the mother. And in the first place, you got him because of the mother. So respect the mother. Draw boundaries. Let you know where your boundaries are. Up to here is where I go. Beyond there, it's not my area. You leave it, you know. The other thing is what we are talking about, contentment. If, for example, you are a wife, and this man has been able to provide for you, he's doing everything that is supposed to be done, do not be so jealousy that even when this man chips in to help a sister in that family, or even to help the mother or the father, you're feeling like this guy has committed suicide. And you come telling everybody, he takes all the money to the mother. And that's a lie. He has done everything that he's supposed to have done. He has provided even guidance in the family. Do not be so jealousy. Remember that before you met this man, he had a home, he had a family. And you remember we said we are creating friendship from day one.
Yes.
This guy might have created friendship with the parents from day one.
Yeah.
Do you now want to come and drive a wedge? So that stress is your own making. You can decide not to have it. You can decide to drag it on with you.
All right.
Yes.
Now, Abok, Rebecca has talked about, having boundaries as far as you can go. But when it comes to the other way around, having boundaries in as far as your in-laws can go when it comes to your family setup. Because, we have all heard of these examples, in-laws come, wanaishi kwako 20 years. Breaking all boundaries and limitations and rules that you may be having in your house. Now, when it comes to having boundaries that they cannot go beyond, how would you advise towards this end?
Great. Number one, we are not Highland. We are interrelated. And the virtue of the component of the family, I think, is very much well drawn from the book of Ruth. And Ruth, that the mother-in-law says, wherever you go, I will go. Where you sleep, your God will be my God. And all this. So it brings, it portrays an integration.
Yes.
And it is essential, as Rebecca said, that it's important, it is paramount that you need to accept, love, and respect the family members of your husband. That may not be so for them. Why? Because you are never the perfect woman for their son. All right? Why? You can never be perfect because you're not born in that family. Expect love from your husband, but give love to the rest of their family. All right? Because the Bible said, make peace with all men. When you make peace with all of them, you will discover that you are trading in a right zone.
Yes.
But when it comes into boundaries, I think it is essential in love to share this with your husband and get to a point that a husband gets to understand. Because as Africans, there is a lot of expectation from our relatives. Maybe you are married to the firstborn. Maybe you are married to the only person who is working. And everyone's focus and dependence is on that person. Chances are very high that they will not come to your house because they love you, but they'll come to your house because they are in need for your support. All right? In that kind of, can you be able to create an understanding that there is a way that either if there is a room, you can support them when you're together with them. But if there is no room, you can also support them from wherever they are. But you know what? Support them with an understanding. Let it be well communicated. Let the boundaries be well defined.
Yes.
Whoever can define these boundaries is your husband, because he's the one who there are relatives. But of course, we also miss the fact that also the wife also has relatives who comes on and live. All right? And sometimes your husband can actually not go across and start telling your sister, stop living here, your brother, stop living here. No, the mutual understanding need to be in contention within the husband and wife, that you, in love, you draw a measure that your wife will be able to communicate with your relatives as your husband is able to communicate. Because if you as a wife start telling my brothers to leave my house, it's contention. And as a husband starting your sisters to leave, it will be contention. But let it be known who communicates to who. This will create a mutual respect, understanding, and a societal environment that people respect one another and appreciate one another. If you tell the relatives that you know what, we cannot be able to live with you at such a time because of the 1, 2, 3 reasons, they will be able to understand rather than showing an attitude when they're already living there. I am against where a wife or a husband demonstrate an attitude of disrespect or hate when people are ready. That is immature. But please, let something be communicated well in advance on how we want to, the terms of regulations and relationship. Then people will be able to understand. why this is not happening.
All right.
Yes.
So have clear communication guidelines.
Yes.
If it is my family, I communicate with them. If it's my partner's family, he communicates with them on something that you and your partner have both agreed on.
Yes.
When it comes to your family space, your household, and how you use your resources to help your family.
Sure.
Yeah? All right. Now let's quickly go to another issue, and that is domestic violence. And it has been on a constant rise in the recent past, especially among the young people. Just yesterday, there was another case of, a university student who stabbed his girlfriend because of a disagreement that they had. Now, domestic violence as one of the biggest stresses in a family setup. What are your thoughts in regards to that, Rebecca?
Remember in the beginning we said that stress is that factor that causes pressure in your mental capacity,
Physical
and
and
bodily
emotional.
and mental,
Yes.
So when you are under pressure, you realize that many people, if you do something under pressure, you don't do it the right way. You finish doing it and then you sit and ask yourself, am I the one who really did that?
Yeah.
I can't believe it, because you did it under pressure. Even at work, if you are under pressure and you do something, maybe you were writing a report, you read it when you're done with the pressure, you're asking yourself, really?
Yeah.
Did I put down this?
Yeah.
You can't believe it. So many of our children, right from the family setup, they have pressures. They have not been able to deal with them. They have got a lot of unfinished business. They have not been able to deal with them. Then they enter into a relationship, and maybe their self-esteem is a bit down. You remember the confidence issues that was
Yes.
spoken by my colleague earlier? Maybe they have got the self-esteem issues, and they're feeling like, especially men currently, they are the ones that have been hardest hit by this.
Yeah.
They are feeling like the girl child has really been supported academically, socially, and everything. Mimi niko hapa. Many of the times, if you see a man hitting a woman, they are trying to prove a point. They are trying to show them, I'm the man here. I'm the powerful person here. You needed to submit. You needed to listen, That is the reason they will beat them up, because they feel if I talk, this person will not listen to me. So again, we go back to what we said, get a bin, where you're able to offload before you address anything, even if it is in a relationship. That is the only way you will be able to listen to this lady who is telling you, let us end it there. We can be friends, but we cannot be able to continue together, living as partners. Let us end it there. But if you have some baggage, you will not take that in kindly. You will see like they're leaving you because there's some weaknesses they have found in you. They think you're not competent enough, and so they're thinking they will dump you and go for another man. You get mad, and you do things that are not supposed to have been done. So I go back to emptying the bin. Completely empty the bin.
Okay.
Right from the family setup to the social circles that you have, to the peers that you work with. What is this that is really bothering you? What is this that you really cannot be able to address alone? Talk to someone. Do not bottle it up. It will destroy you, it will harm you, and you may end up in prison or elsewhere. I go to prison at Kamiti and I find very young men there, and they have been given lifetime jail. So I'm asking myself, they will be here like 40 years, 30, 50. By the time they are living here, they will not be so helpful to anybody. So you don't deserve to die, neither do you deserve to go to any prison.
All right.
Empty the bin.
Okay.
Yes.
Abok, when it comes to domestic violence, and just as she has said, femicide has been on a constant rise. It's mostly the men, attacking the women, but there are cases of women who have, gone over and beyond and attacked the men. But is it a case of just proving a point to your partner? Is there really reason enough to, attack your partner?
There is not much reason to attack your partner, because why? What is it that has brought you together? Are you confined on together, or love has brought you together? If love has brought you together, let love be super above all things. Now, Jen,
Yes.
we've taught about good marriage, good parenting, but we have not taught how to kokatiana.
Una discover hiyo ukifika hiyo miaka.
We discover, we've left it to be a self-discovery emotion.
Yes.
And so people walk in relationship with emotions. Today I love you, tomorrow I don't love you. How do I deal with disputes? How do I deal with mistrust and all this other thing? But today I put young people down and I tell them that, you know what? You cannot specialize before you socialize. Because specialization comes out of socialization.
And that I'm telling you, have as many friends as possible before you pick one that you feel that this one is a special friend. People are not friendly. So what brings them together is self-gratification and satisfaction, which when they're finished with it, they do not see any value in the person that they're relating to. When someone pick up a knife or a panga and hits you up just because they feel that you've gone somewhere, what you need to understand that whoever you are relating with is the best.
Yes.
So if she is the best, she's not only the best to you, she's the best to many other people who will tend to admire them. So how do you then guard on that best? You guard on that best by demonstrating love, respect, care. All right? To an extent that the person has confidence with you. Majority of the young people, I ask them, can your girlfriend discuss with you on someone who admires them and tells them how they love them and you accept it positively? Or will you hear them, or will you hear a rumor and then begin to build, build a beef with that person?
Start being aggressive.
Be confident of yourself, that you know what, I am not loved based on my pocket. And the greatest illusion today is that we do not have love. I was in a forum and I was asking these young people the other day, I came from Malindia, is there love? The young people told me, no. If you see a man walking with a beautiful woman, he is walking with a beautiful woman based on the size of their pocket. And it is very unfortunate that Kenya is full of beautiful women who are looking at people based on their pocket. They are not looking at the shape, they are not looking at the value, they are not looking at so when this man pockets run dry, you begin to look at the face that look like a crocodile, and you begin to see that this one is typically a crocodile, and you can murder a crocodile.
Yes.
Are you getting one another? But if you begin to look at someone in the value system, that I love this person and I want to make a family with this person, this is going to be the father of my children, I begin to protect them, I begin to guard them, I begin to appreciate them, on that we can be able to have a sitting and say, you know what, the way we sat on a coffee table and tell you how I love you, you are the only contentious issue in my constitution, you are the only mosquito in my net. I can also be able to sit down with you and remind you that, you know what, out of the contentious issue, this is the only contentious thing that I see in this relationship. Yes. And this is what is bringing contention. Can we be able to amend this and let the relationship go further well?
She'll see how my colleague on the other side of today is agreeing with you, Mr. Ramaguko. But now, as we bring the conversation to an end, maybe just to sum it up and give a word of advice to our young people, to even our parents out there, because, you can't get everything right. You are human, you're bound to make mistakes here and there. You may have made a mistake maybe in how you brought up your children, which, could have contributed to, you thinking that they are a stressful factor in the family setup. What would you advise, the parents, our young generation, and even how to deal with our children when they're still young?
I can say that you cannot be able to give what you do not have.
Yes.
If you don't have joy, you cannot be able to give joy to the children or even to your spouse. If you don't believe in yourself, you cannot be able to believe in your children or your spouse. So I would urge everybody, be it a parent, be it a teenager out there, or even our young adults, believe in yourself. Look at things positively. Don't always think that even when people are correcting you, they are against you, they hate me, it's that they don't think about me. Don't always feel like you're the disadvantaged one. Don't always feel like everybody is attacking you. Look at things positively. And I would say there was an illustration that was given by a person, and it is said that a lecturer walked into a class with a glass, and everybody looked at the glass and they thought, this lecturer is going to ask, is the glass half full or half empty? But that was not the question. The lecturer held the glass and asked, how heavy is this glass? And the answer was, it doesn't matter the weight of the glass. It could be 1 gram, it could be 12 kilograms, it could be however weighty.
Yes.
The answer was, it doesn't matter how heavy the glass is, it matters how long you're going to hold the glass. If I were to hold this phone like this, since I entered here, and I'm holding it this way, I believe that by now my heart would be shaking, and maybe the phone would have fallen off. So it matters how long you carry that grudge. It matters how long you carry that pain in you. It matters how long you carry that, hatred, and even feeling that my parent never gave me this. Maybe you are a young adult there, and you are asking yourself, they never created friendship from day one.
Yes.
I am now 27 and I want to get married. How do I get to be loved the way I should have been loved? It will never come to happen, because you can never return day one. You have to get off the baggage, get a bin, throw it in there, empty your bin, wash it again, return with it, so that again you don't litter the compound with your emotions, with your mood swings, with your anger, and destroy everybody. So I would say that we begin appreciating who we are and where we are.
All right.
Thank you.
Abok, your closing remarks in regards to dealing with your family in a way that will ultimately not become a stressful factor or issues in the future, as you know, and instead breed a healthy environment, a healthy relationship with your children and your partner as well, to avoid stresses that, you know, originate from the family setup.
Great. Allow me to say that number one, family is not a choice. It's a paramount place to be. It's the only place that when everything rejects you out there, they accept you in. Create a system, mechanism that will help you to deal with pressure and stress in the family. By number one, accept your family the way they are. Whatever is out of control, please refer it on to God. Life is dynamic. Sometimes it gives you orange, sometimes it gives you lemon. If give you lemon, create a lemonade out of it. If it gives you orange, make a juice out of it. This will be able to help you to cope up with life as it comes in. But remember this, there is a better life. There is a better tomorrow, the way you're seeing today looks like. And it depends on the way you cultivate today to get the fruit of tomorrow. So please, there is nothing that has no way out. If it cannot be solved on today, can you push it on tomorrow? But you know what? When you push it tomorrow, you will be able to get a better result than when you respond on to today. Before you react to something, ask yourself, how would I love it to be reacted on me?